Hi, everyone. In this lab activity, you are going to be doing an online virtual lab through fet.colorado.edu, and you are going to be answering this guiding question. So, your guiding question is: how does atom electronegativity affect both bond character and molecular polarity of a bond? So, that's what you are going to be investigating, and you are really designing your own experiment. Okay. So you're going to click right here, and this is where your lab instructions are going to be. And I have that open right here. So I'm going to go there, and you're going to read the introduction. The introduction is going to give you information about electronegativity, what electronegativity means, and looking at opposite electrical charges and what happens with ions, ionic compounds. And then after you have read through that introduction, looking here, it says the objective is to use the molecular polarity lab from Colorado, to determine the answer to the guiding question. How does atom electronegativity affect both the bond character and molecular polarity? So if you were to click here, the molecular polarity lab, it's going to open you up to this page right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on the two atoms, and you can adjust things however you need to. So you have atom A and atom B, and you can look at all different kinds of things. So you can look at partial charges, your partial positive and your partial negative. You would have seen that in your polar bear and penguin lab, or your polar bear and penguin cartoon. And then you can look at bond character. So bond character, is it more covalent? Is it more ionic? And you can also change things. So you can change. At first, I have nothing on the surface. What I like to do is I like to see my electron density. Some people like to see the electric field and see what happens there, but I really like to see the electron density, and electron density is right up here. Okay. And so as I change my electronegativity of atom A to more or less, what is going to happen with my bond character? What happens to my electron density? What if I change my atom B electronegativity? So you're going to be varying the electronegativities of your different atoms and seeing how that affects your bond character and also your electron density. And I'd like for you to take some screenshots and give me some information in your lab. So if we go back to our lab instructions, the lab instructions give you things that you really should be thinking about. Things. So if you scroll down, it says what's going to help you determine what type of data you need to collect? What type of observations will you need to record during your investigation, and when will you need to make these observations? To determine how you will collect the data. So how are you going to collect it? What are you going to do? Are you going to graph your information? Are you going to use a data table? And that actually goes into how you will analyze your data. But you're also going to look at what types of molecules are you going to need in the simulation. So you can do 2 atoms, you could do 3 atoms, or you could look at both. What will your range and electronegativity values need to be? What are the types of comparisons that you're going to need to make, and how will you keep track of the data? So that's the most important thing when you're designing your own experiment. You're really trying to see how are you going to keep track of the data, and what's your independent variable going to be, and what's your dependent variable going to be. So here are your procedures, but they're very brief procedures because I really want you to design your own experiment in this case. So you're going to need to determine what you will vary and what you are going to record. Then begin to collect your data and determine how atom electronegativity will affect both bond character and the molecular polarity of a bond. Remember, how are you going to analyze it? Are you going to put it in a data table, or are you going to put it in a graph? What are you going to end up doing? But I would like for you to have your screenshots of information. So back to your lab, you're going to give me your claim. That's going to be a 2 to 3 sentence claim. And then I want you to give me some evidence. What evidence did you collect? Okay. And then finally, you're going to wrap up with your reasoning. So you have your claim, evidence, reasoning right here for this lab. Now, one thing that I did include in the instructions that I'd like for you to take a look at is if you click on CK12 5-24, it's polarity and chemical bonds. You can use the information from here as your scientific vocabulary and scientific information to help you answer your reasoning section. So do your justification. Hopefully that's helpful. If it's not, go ahead and reach out via email, through tutorial, or during class.